Hello and welcome to D-Backs Dispatch. I am your host, the Internet's Gabriel, or the Internet's Gabriel Ferrer. I'm joined today by one of my favorite co-hosts, Brett. Uh, Brandon right now is on assignment in Las Vegas, and I believe he went to go see a couple of Japanese businessmen or something like that in Las Vegas. But today we aren't talking about, gambling or cheating scandals. We are going to be talking about the unfortunate Marlins series that we just went through, which was, I have no other words for it except pathetic, because that's kind of what this was. Like, there's no reason why this team shouldn't have at least won the series against the Marlins. But yeah, I mean, what else? Let's just get to it then. Let's talk about game one. So, uh, Brett, um, so Zach Gallen looked amazing. Personally, we talked about our grades earlier. I personally gave him an A, but you had a B plus for him. Do you want to explain your B plus?
Yeah, so I feel like it's really tough trying to give any pitcher that has, the outing that he had, 7 innings, 3 runs, 5 Ks. I'm looking for the stats. Yeah, 7 innings, 8 hits, 3 runs, 5 Ks, 1 walk, nine whiffs, 96 pitches. I did kind of agree with Brandon on just the 13 hard hit balls is still kind of a lot. I know the Marlins aren't like the best team. They're actually the worst team in the National League coming into this year, if I'm not mistaken, which is another reason why I agree with you that it's just unacceptable to lose a series to them. But that's kind of why I'm like, having that many hard hit balls against or from a lineup like this that's not usually, like, I'd say hitting that well. Like, obviously they're not winning that many games. We're not either, so it's not like we can really talk. But I don't know. That's kind of why I was leaning towards like a B plus. Like, he still had an amazing game. Like, again, 7 innings, 5 Ks, 3 runs. Like, your offense usually should show up for you. Like, if you tell me that the ace of the team is gonna give you 7 innings of 3 runs, I'm expecting like the offense to show up and actually, support the ace and give him a win, not just absolutely just go dead.
Yeah, and this is something like unfortunate that we've talked about a few times, where either Gallen or even Montgomery, where they'll have these starts where they'll go 7 innings and allow 1 or 2 or even 3 runs, and the offense just puts up nothing on the board. And so at that point, you're like, even if they went out and pitched a shutout, they still wouldn't win the game because of the way the offense was. They scored 0 runs, and we're going to talk about it in a little bit about what's his name, Braxton Garrett, right? Is that his name?
Mm-hmm. Garrett, Braxton Garrett.
Yeah. I mean, Gallen looked great. I mean, he was missing a little bit. He wasn't as sharp as he normally would be, but he still went 7 innings. He gave up 3 runs and five strikeouts, and just he looked overall like dominant. He was pretty dominant in this game. He did have 13 hard hit balls, but I mean, that's gonna happen when he's starting to turn up the velocity a little bit, especially with this fastball. So when that happens, obviously the balls are gonna be hit a little bit harder than usual. And we're seeing the graphic right now about the splits, and he's hitting those 95 plus. He's averaging 93 over almost 94. But I gave him the A minus, I believe. I gave him the A minus just because he still went 7 innings. He gave up 3 runs. He did ace stuff. He did his job. He went out there. He gave this team every chance to win, and they just could not get anything done. And it's so frustrating to watch this game because, and I guess we can get to it now with Braxton Garrett. What do you think? Is it the D-backs being bad, or just Braxton Garrett being on one?
I mean, I think it's a mixture of probably a little bit of both, because some pitchers, whatever your stats are going into the game beforehand, you could just have a really nice, really good day and just be on one. I personally think it's a little bit more of just the D-backs just kind of still struggling. It does suck, especially coming off of that series against the Dodgers. You're hoping that they would win, but I believe, I don't know if it was you or Josh in here in the stats, they're now hitting as a team. They're 39 hits and 229 at bats, so they're hitting 170 as a team in games after an off day, and the team itself is 1-5 on those days. So I think it's just a mixture of Everything goes cold, like on the offensive side. And just in general, they don't hit lefties well. Like they are, I believe, I put it somewhere in here. They're 6-13 this season in games that are started by a left-handed pitcher. So they're just, and it's not like they're hitting lefties terribly bad. I looked at the stats. I believe they're still as a team hitting like 270, like average against lefties. So it's not like they're just sucking. It's just they're not winning against these lefties. They're just, I don't know what it is. Maybe they can get to the lefties early, and then the rest of the game they just blow it. So it might just be like that's where some of those baseline stats of the win-loss record doesn't show you everything, but it's still 6-13 against lefties, where this team was, kind of made like they hit lefties well enough last year, and you're expecting them to hit them really well this year. They just aren't. I mean, Grichuk doesn't have a home run since his first one that he hit in Coors. Gino isn't hitting home runs at all. Like, I think it's just genuinely a mixture of Braxton Garrett being on one, and look at Gino just staring at pitches literally right down the middle. Like, the offense just feels broken in general to me.
Yeah, it's kind of my thought too. Like, I'm not gonna disparage Braxton Garrett. I think he's generally a really good pitcher, but he's not this good. He's not a nine inning shutout type guy. But what I noticed in this one, and the reason why I feel it was more, I mean, he did like this play specifically. Like, there were some balls that were hit straight to the defenders, but for the most part, it was just a lot of like early swinging. They would see one pitch, if that. They would swing at the first pitch or the second pitch, and they were just getting themselves out over and over again, to the point where when you reach the ninth, he only had like 80 pitches, which is, again, that's bad. You're not supposed to do that. You take 2 pitches. I don't care where they go. I don't care if they're straight down the middle. Just take 2 pitches at that point. But instead, in the 9th inning, the first 2 outs were just on the first and second pitch, and the only reason why he got up to was a 95 or 96 pitches was just because there's the pitch to Gurriel that was straight down the middle for a strikeout that the umpire didn't count, and so I think Gurriel after that saw about 3 or 4 more pitches. And it's just, I'm getting to the point where I'm wondering if Joe Mathers should be on this team. Joe Mathers, the hitting coach. Do we need another hitting coach? Should we get another hitting coach? Like, we are still relatively early in the season. Is this just growing pains? Is this a World Series hangover? Because, we're going to get into it at the end. It's not like the Rangers are doing any better. I believe Corey Seager has like a 750 OPS or something like that. And this is, the World Series MVP. This is a guy who's in contention for MVPs all the time. But, I mean, what do you think, Brett? Like, should that become a discussion now about getting rid of Joe Mather?
I mean, it's definitely an interesting point to bring up. And I think, especially if the offense continues on the trend that they're going, I think that it definitely would be a little more, or be more valid as it goes. But I mean, we saw them last year, I think. And again, after what we're seeing today, I know we sent the tweet in the group chat, like, this is mostly a joke. On their day off, they're just out there golfing. Like, I know, even on my day off, I'm not always working and I'm not thinking about work. Like, that's the point of days off. I get it. But I feel like a little bit when you're in a rut like this, it's like you said in the thing, it's like, hey, focus on hitting pitch number 5 that's right down the middle and not hitting with the 5. Like, you don't need, focus on the other things. That's just mostly a joke, though. I personally still want to see them get a little bit more healthy. I know we mentioned it before, Domo and Thomas, they're not like insane hitters, so it's not like getting them back just automatically fixes the team. But again, I still think kind of like what we've already seen in general with Paul Sewald. Paul Sewald comes back in the bullpen immediately, other than Kevin Ginkel, who we'll get to, slides, kind of back into the normal form that we saw somewhat last year in the playoffs. I think that could be what we see with Domo, hopefully coming back, getting the rest of this team, because exactly like you said, Braxton Garrett did not throw that many pitches, 80 pitches, almost 90 in like the 8th or 9th inning, unless your name is Greg Maddux, is just really unheard of in the day of baseball now, where Perdomo's that kind of guy in the lineup where he's gonna see the pitch as well. He might have like a quick 1-2-3 strikeout, just like a lot of hitters will, but most of the time he's gonna have a good at bat, probably gonna get to a full count, maybe get on base, but he's gonna make the pitcher work. I think getting him back could at least help a little bit. So I want to wait until we get the team a little bit more to what we expected kind of at the beginning of the season. Because, I mean, at the start of the season, we were like, wow, this offense is great. Like, this team is hitting the cover off the ball. They're putting up runs. Like, this is what we like to see. So until we get him back and see exactly what this team can do with him, I don't fully want to see Mather gone, but it is, I believe, a very good point to at least, kind of keep in the back of the mind as, the season progresses from this point.
Yeah, and I mean, you do bring up a good point. I feel like that's maybe when we have to have the serious discussion about it once Domo and Alec come back, because they do take pitches, both of them. Alec, will ground out a lot of the times, but he's still seeing 5-6 pitches per at bat. Same with Perdomo. He always, it seems, every single time he has a 3-2 count on him. So when they get back, I mean, it's not just offensive stuff. Like they provide really good defense. So like if Thomas makes a great play in center to end an inning, like that is going to energize the team. That's going to energize them when it's their turn to bat, and it's going to lower the morale a bit for the other team as well. So, and also we always talk about the the vibes and stuff like that. That is legit. Like it is a legit thing. Like how Tori said, a connector team is a dangerous team, and as of right now, like they don't truly seem connected. They don't seem like they're having fun. They just don't look like the team that we saw last year. And maybe they're tired. Like I really don't know what it is at this point. Especially because of all like the lack of offense. If it was one guy or two guys, if it was just Corbin Carroll, if it was just Gurriel or whatever, if it's all of them, it's everybody who isn't Cattell. And so we can get to it right now. Yeah. So we can get to it now about Cattell. His streak ended at 21 games. And when Brandon asked us the other day, like, when does it end? I said, like, I don't even want to talk about it because I feel like I'm going to say he's going to extend it. And then obviously Friday's going to come around and he's going to lose it. As great as Cattell has been, this was a very, very impressive streak, especially during the regular season. I mean, he had the same in the playoffs, but Marte just continues to impress this year. He had a few dazzling plays too, in second base. Like he's leading the league for at least second baseman in outs above average, and I think defensive red save. So I think we're closer to Cattell getting MVP consideration this year again, like in 2019. As of right now, he's probably the fifth best player in the National League. But yeah, what do you think, Brett? How'd you feel about this? How'd you feel about it ending? Are you muted, Brett?
I was muted. Sorry about that. It is unfortunate seeing just basically any hitting streak end. Like we always want to see our guys doing good, especially with the going into that series against the Marlins. I was kind of hoping that we could see extended through those 3 games. But just in general, to get a base hit in 21 straight games is really hard to do. Like we don't really see many hitting streaks get into like the 15s and 20s. Like that's why the whole point of Williams' hitting streak was insane, and that's why I believe Josh eventually has like the graphic. Like there's been a decent amount of hitting streaks for the Diamondbacks like in their career. And 21 is still impressive. Like Womack getting it 24 in 2000, Goldie getting his 26 from the 13 to 14 season. But most of those, like Gonzo's, Womacks, and Bautistas, those were, I'd say, in like the juiced ball like era. So like maybe you could be a little bit like, oh, like it makes a little more sense where, even still nowadays, still hit with how hard pitchers are throwing and with just how hard hitting in general has become in baseball. 21 straight hitting streak is just really impressive. Like I know it sucks it ended, but you want to be happy that it happened.
Yeah, and this is definitely one of those things where when it ends like this, you just think about, oh, go get another hitting streak going. And unfortunately, he hasn't. He's gone hitless, I believe, in these last 2 games, 0 for 10, 0 for 9, or whatever it's been. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's a great way to start off the year for him. 21 games straight with the hit. He's still looking locked in, despite these last couple of games, he's still looking really locked in. And like you're saying, it's with how impossible hitting is and always has been in general, nowadays when you have a guy throwing over 100 with so much movement, like the fact that he's able to get a hit in every single game, it's so impressive. And even at the end of that game on Friday, it was one of those things where I was like, when he did bet at the end of the game, or in the eighth inning, I was like, is he gonna get it? Like, I feel like he might. Like at that point, like you're so used to it and you believe in him so much that you're like, I feel like he might actually pull this off. And unfortunately, he just grounded out or whatever it was. But still, hats off to Cattell. He's been having an impressive season. We're happy to have him healthy. Unfortunately, he's the only one doing anything at all at this point. But it is what it is. So that was game one. They lost 3-0 in a pretty pathetic offering. So now we move on to game two. So their lone win this time. Jordan Montgomery started the game. He had 6 innings. But he did allow 9 hits, which is a lot, especially to this Marlins team. 1 walk, 2 earned runs, 4 strikeouts. And impressive. What impressed me most was the 77 pitches only. He probably could have kept going. I don't know why he was taken out. I can maybe think about not.
One name, Tory.
I mean, that's honestly that could be it. Could be Tory. It could just be the fact that
they were starting to hit him a little well, like that one that Jazz, like because again, I know you'll probably get to it and we'll talk more on it later. If it wasn't for that really clutch relay and tag and challenge, there's a good chance that Monty leaves that game with the game tied. Like they were starting to hit him pretty well in that 6th inning there, so I could kind of understand it. But I do agree on 77 pitches. That was really efficient.
Yeah, I mean that's who Montgomery has been since he's came over, and throughout his career, he is Mr. Efficient. He's going to get you 7 innings on 80 pitches. So as the season goes on, I would like to see him go a little bit longer, especially to give rest to our bullpen arms. But good news is his velo is at 94. Like he's looking really good. But if we want to talk about the relay, that thing was so freaking nice. That was probably like the one real highlight of this series, especially because they had to challenge it. What did you think it was safe at first?
So because me and my wife were there watching it in person, it definitely looked like he was safe. I'm not gonna lie. But then the fact that because I believe, did they call him the fact that he was I think off the bag, because I think he came off after he overslid.
Yeah, I think so.
So I mean, that's where I was originally. I was like, oh, he's safe. And I believe from my angle, I couldn't see that he fully came off the bag. It just looked like he still just kept going and kept the hand on. And I assumed that the challenge was just them being like, well, I mean, what's the harm in challenging? But no, that was the D-backs replay booth is usually, I mean, last year they had a lot of success with their challenges. This year it's been kind of hit or miss. I feel like there's been a lot that they should have gotten overturned, but for some reason I guess wasn't enough evidence. So the calls usually stood, but that was a just perfect relay and just a good heads up play from Gino to make sure to keep the tag on. That's one of those where sometimes when Gino's not doing good in the box, maybe his veteran presence there in the field, maybe a younger player doesn't fully keep the tag on him the entire way. Maybe a younger player, originally tags him, he's like, damn, oh, he's off the bag, oh, goes back to tag him, and then it's too late, where Gino's like, no, I'm keeping this on you the entire way.
Yeah. So was this the game where Moreno had 3 caught stealings, or was it Friday's game? Because I wanted to mention that real quick. Yeah,
that's a good point. I keep forgetting to look which one up that was. I can check right now though.
Yeah. Well, while you look that up, we can talk about Ryan Thompson. Ryan Thompson has been a godsend for this team. He's been incredible. Like every time he goes into the game, you're like, all right, this inning's over. It's gonna take 10 pitches and he's gonna be out. So up to the year, he's 2-1 with 7 holds in 21 games. He has 22 pitches, just 2 walks so far, which is crazy. And opponents are batting 210, 229, and 272. So the few times where he does allow a hit, it's a lot of singles and it's a lot of ground balls that just get through the defenders usually. So the May stats for him is 2-0 in 9 games. 10 innings, 10 strikeouts, opponent slash 237, 237, and 368. So, and Ryan Thompson has been truly on one. He's looked amazing. What do you think? What do you think about how he's looked, Brett?
Yes, kind of like what you were saying with this team killing my sanity. I fully agree, man. This is getting insane. Uh, yeah, Ryan Thompson's just. I'm thankful that the Rays let him go last year. Uh, he's been genuinely, other than Paul Sewald, probably the biggest change and biggest blessing to this bullpen. Like he just genuinely insane. He's not out there. He's just disgusting. It shows kind of like when I was growing up. I was like, oh, maybe if I did a submarine pitcher or maybe submarine throwing, I could make my 85 miles an hour work in high school. And he can show it like, hey, you know what? I throw 91, but if you can have some nasty movement and good control to go along with it, half the time, because there are some times where he'll just, like Dalton Feely says, just go sailing a pitch to the backstop. But he's disgusting, man. Like he's one of the few pitchers in the bullpen where like when he comes out there, I'm basically like, yeah, like there's 3 outs. It's over. Like I don't have to worry about it. Like the D-backs offense will be back hitting basically immediately. I don't even have to worry about a single thing.
Yeah, and it's definitely one of those things where him, Seawald, like there's certain guys on this team. Like it's a cliche to call these guys like lunch pail guys, but that's kind of what they are. They kind of just go in and do their job. Like there's nothing really like flashy or crazy about it until you look at the scoreboard. You're like, oh wait, he has this many innings without a hit or a run or whatever, because they're so unassuming. It's not like Thompson is out here throwing straight up cheese and everything. Like he's literally just got great command, great movement on the slider. Like he's just really, really good. And I'm so glad that the Rays decided to let him go because we discussed before, and he truly just had one blowout game. I think it might have been against the Yankees. I'm not 100% sure, but he allowed something like 4 runs and he only got 1 out. And that really elevated his ERA. So that's why his ERA when they got him was around 4.5. If you take out that one start, he was exactly what this is. He had like a 1.5 ERA. But I don't know. I still to this day, I truly don't know what or why they let him go.
Yeah, the Rays are not.
Maybe,
The Rays are usually doing like that's usually what the Rays do to teams.
yeah,
Like anytime a pitcher is DFA'd by somebody and you see the Rays pick him up, it's like you're like, oh no, what are they going to figure out?
yeah,
That
exactly.
couldn't. Where this is the opposite situation. I don't know. Maybe it was just a roster thing. Maybe they were hoping that he would have been like slipped through the cracks and nobody would have noticed him. But then Mike Hazen was like, oh no, sir, I'll take him. Thank you.
Yeah, because I know I believe he might have been DFA'd or even done the put on waivers or something like that. Like it didn't
I think
seem
we
like the
claimed him
Rays
off waivers.
waivers. Yeah, so usually when people get put on waivers, it's more to like most of the time guys don't get picked on waivers. It's just kind of to clear a roster spot in the meantime, without sending him down or anything. And luckily the D-backs saw him and were like, bet he's mine now. And so I think everybody saw his numbers, but the D-backs were the first ones to get him, especially with the way the waivers work. The way it works is I believe it's almost the same thing as the draft, where it's like the worst teams get first pick until the better teams. So the D-backs kind of got lucky that they were able to snag him before anybody else. But he's just been incredible for this team. I'm hoping that he keeps this up, and then we can maybe sign him in some way, extend him, whatever it is that we might need to keep him here, because he is what we need. He is what we need. I don't think he's going to be, a closer anytime soon, but 7th inning, 8th inning, whatever, especially when we come to the playoffs, he's shown that he can get the job done. Same with Seawald. Like these are guys who know what they're doing, know how to get outs. So yeah, man, I love Thompson. Unfortunately, we have some more bad news to talk about.
Yeah.
So we want to go into Corbin Carroll. As of right now, I believe he's batting 188. We've talked about a lot that he's had really bad days at the plate in general. They are getting better. He is making more contact. He's starting to hit the ball harder. I believe he had a triple again.
Mm-hmm.
But the issue,
I'm not gonna lie, that was more of a single turning extra bases because Like again, I know it's he misplayed it. It's not an error, but in my book, that's basically a single and an error. Like as an outfielder, you don't dive towards a ball like a line drive like that. But hey, I'll take it as a triple. But yeah, sorry, as you're saying.
I mean, the triple's a triple. Like he's still good on base. Like he has been. It seems like he's coming around a lot of times. There, you'll see the the stats the next day, and you're like, oh, the expected batting average on that ball was 900, but it went straight to a defender. So it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't know at this point. Like I truly don't know. Is it his eyes? Is it his swing? Is it that he's not able to hit fastballs? Is it just the fact that he's getting unlucky? Because I mean, we've seen this before. We saw it even with in 2021, I believe we saw it with Christian Walker, where he was just barreling balls left and right, just hitting it so freaking hard. Exit velocities of 110 plus, and they all went for outs. Like midway through the season, he was batting 150, and we're like, do we send them down? Like, this whole. That's when everyone started missing Goldschmidt again, and same thing with Alec that we've talked about. Alec just barreling the balls, but just straight to defenders. Like it's just one of those things where I mean, baseball's a hard sport. There's a great breakdown video going at Chris Davis when he had his 54 consecutive plate appearances without a hit. There was a lot of bad luck in that. There was a lot of balls that he just barreled up that were just perfect grounders and everything. And
that was a foolish baseball video.
Yeah. So, I mean, baseball's hard in general. I mean, it's hard enough to hit the ball, but especially when you're just getting unlucky. So at this point, like, I'm getting to the point where I don't want to send him down to Reno. I really don't. But I think maybe if we get to the All-Star break and he's still around 180, I think at that point we can seriously start to consider sending him down. But I mean, what do you think?
I still am so wary about just sending a guy down, just for the one, like, the one issue of just, again, it's not every guy, but sometimes it can mentally just kind of just bug you out. And, again, if you start struggling in Reno, then it just makes you like, it's one of those, and then you're like, well, what are you going to do? Like, send him down to AA, like let him rot in Reno, like try to like figure it out there, like just ruin his confidence more. But I mean, like you said, it's getting to the point where like there's not many things, like they've moved him down in the lineup. He kind of did the same thing, then moved him back up, and like he's still getting on base at least. Like I know he's still taking his walks when he's getting them. He's still like it's just not the consistent. Like he's not doing it. It's like we'll see flashes of an at bat in one game where like that triple, he hit the ball really well, hit it, went the other way, but then in the same game is having some pretty terrible swings, just not really making like any good contact. I know it's still one of the stats that I still have a little hard time understanding, but I know a lot of people, especially in like the Twitter community, see it a lot. But like his expected weighted on base has been pretty low, obviously, for league average. If you're looking on like Baseball Savant in general, but it is starting to get back up above league average slightly. So there are some decent signs that he is somewhat coming out of it. But I mean, especially with Alec Thomas not being back, to me, I don't think you can really send him down yet, especially when he's still playing good, like in the field. Like he doesn't have an arm, but he's still in the 95th percentile fielding. He's got 4 outs above average in center field, or in the outfield in general, which sometimes watching him track some of the balls down, you wouldn't probably expect. But I don't know. I'm still hopeful that he'll turn it around, especially I know this stretch of games that we have, I think for the next like month or the 2-3 weeks, we should hopefully be seeing some weaker pitching than we have been. I know that's one of the things is we've just been seeing a lot of really good pitching too, if I'm being completely honest. But I think it's just kind of like when the entire team's struggling, and you yourself are, especially, I know he takes everything on himself really tough. And he's just, we've seen the interviews. He is all about, we know he's trying to fix whatever is going on. I know like when they were probably like, hey, we're going golfing, he was probably like, no, okay, I'm going to stay back and like go into the cages. I'm not worried about that. I'm trying, he could just be pressing too much, just like the entire team. I'm personally not fully on the needs to be sent down yet, but if we see this for another month, then it's going to be, I think that's the only option that you can do. Like, especially if Alec Thomas is back by then, it's like if Jake McCarthy's hitting, if Alec Thomas, is in his rehab in Reno and is hitting, you can't send down, like, you're not obviously doing anything with Jock. Randall Grichuk, you're still going to need to face lefties, and he still plays the outfield. Yeah, and Gurriel, like, you're not going to send Gurriel down. Like, there's only going to be so many options that you can deal with, and it's like, I love Corbin, but you can't just be giving up at bats at a certain point in the season if they're still trying to fight for even just a wild card spot.
Yeah, especially because and where he is in the lineup, he is at the top of the lineup. And these are the guys who get the most at bats during the game. And if he still continues to struggle, I'd rather have somebody else up, batting first, whether it's Cattell or when he comes back, maybe in Perdomo, just anybody other than Corbin. But yeah, it's been frustrating to watch, and it's been pretty sad to watch too, because it's like this is our rookie of the year. This is last year one of our greatest D-backs of all time at that point already, and just see him struggle. But this has been happening league wide. Like Ronald Acuna Jr., he's been struggling this whole year, and unfortunately now he's had his injury. Same with Goldie. Goldie had his struggles throughout the whole year. He's finally turned it around. He has 3 home runs in 2 days. Like, he's coming around. His average is back up to around 230, which is what I'm hoping for Corbin too, where he's just able to string together a couple of hits per game. That's all we need. Like Corbin, when he gets his triples, the issue is that it's just the triple. It's not
only hit of the day. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not only hit of the day. He's not, he'll walk, which is good. But he's not getting a ton of hits like he was last year. There's not really the 3 for 4 games that he was getting, 2 for 5, whatever it is. It's a lot of 1 for 4s, 1 for 5. So I would love to see that turn around. Hopefully, in some of these upcoming series, he's able to, maybe face, pitching that isn't amazing. But we've also faced so many lefties. It seems like every team has 2 lefties now. So
yeah, dude, no kidding.
Maybe that's what it is too. Is just facing just a ton of lefties. I mean, he does struggle with the righties, but with them facing so many lefties, he just hasn't had a chance to really even adjust to the righties. But yeah, hopefully, I don't want to keep bringing that up, but Carroll, like, he's going to be a talking point until he turns it around. So,
no, I agree. It's like you can't just ignore it. Like, you can't just like be like, I don't see that. Everything's fine. You can't be that meme of the dog in the coffee house with everything on fire. Like, you gotta talk about the elephant in the room.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have been talking about it too, like his struggles. But at some point, he has to, put up or shut up. At this point, like, we're getting to the point of the year where there isn't as much room for error or as much room for growth. Like, we're 50 games in. We have 110 to go, which is still a ton of games, obviously.
Yeah, they can still turn it around. I still believe.
They can still turn it around. We're 4 games under 500 at this point with the way these series has gone.
Still 2.
But
I think we're still 2 under 500 now. Or
we are 3.
3 back to 3 now. That's right.
3 games, 7 games behind the Dodgers, and I believe 2 games, 1.5 games behind the wild card. So obviously, hope is still not lost. They just got to string together some wins, and they're back. Suddenly it's like that meme. It's like, we're back. It's over. We're back. It's over. We're so back. It's so over again. So hopefully we're able to turn it around a bit. But Corbin, we love you, but we got to do something about this. All right. So transitioning to our next topic of discussion, which is what we saw in this game, which was the early backs. They put up 3 runs in the first 2 innings, and then they just completely got shut down after that, which is what we've seen this year. Last year, they were the answer backs because they were complete garbage the first half of the game, and then they turned on the Jets and scored a bunch of runs and became the answer backs. But now they have been the early backs, so they'll put up 6 runs in the first inning and then do nothing the rest of it. So as the question says here, like, do you think this is a sustainable model? Like, can this be a way for them to have success, not just early in the season, but coming into the playoffs?
I mean, personally, I don't think so. I mean, like, scoring early is, I think, like, obviously, if you can score early and have it be a bunch, like, if you're scoring 5-6 in the first and second every game and you're actually having your pitching doing what like because the Diamondbacks have still been having some really good starting pitching. That's what's really unfortunate is the offense is going dead. Probably one of the only times we've seen the starting pitching consistently give them, obviously not every night, but I'd say 3 to 4 times out of every turn, just consistent quality innings. And if the offense is just putting up 1 or 2 in the first and then dying the rest of the way, I personally don't think. I mean, we're seeing it right now. Like they're 3 under 500. They're struggling to even get back to 500. Like they're rough right now. I don't think they've been 500 since the Rockies series or the Braves series, maybe back in like all the way in early April. So it's been a while that they've just been kind of like
Wow.
been a while that they've been kind of just like treading water and I'd say borderline drowning. So me personally, I do not think that it's sustainable with the current way that they're playing. Like it's just you can't expect to even make the playoffs or do much in the playoffs if your offense isn't showing up. Like it's kind of like what we saw with the Brewers last year. The Brewers pitching was decent, but their offense just couldn't really do anything. Like their pitching got them to the playoffs. And like obviously that's a way different team than we are now. But that's kind of like where it's like, oh cool, yeah, we can turn it around. But if this offense doesn't actually fully start clicking, I don't know. I'd rather get back to the answer backs creating chaos like we saw last year than being like doing what we're doing now. Like I don't know. It's just to me personally, I do not think so. But I'm curious to see what you think.
Yeah, so with the way the early backs have been, like the fact that it just gets shut down, it's not just that they're not able to get runs across. It's just they just get shut down, and like they can't even hit at some point. It's like like after the second inning when they score 6 runs from the third through the eighth, it's like they have sat down 17 straight batters at this point. Like it's been really bad, and it's just it. If at any point the other team starts scoring runs too, what do you do then? They can't come back and answer back anymore just because that's not who they are this year. So they punch first, they get punched back, and then what do? They kind of just lie there and take it at this point. So I don't think it's sustainable at all, especially once we get to the later part of the seasons when everyone's tired, everyone is fighting, and they're looking up at the standings, and they're a couple games away from a wild card spot. So I would prefer if they're able to put up 6 runs, but doing a couple of runs in the first, a couple of runs in the fifth, and the seventh, whatever it is. But you need to be able to space out these runs because, as we've seen too, it's not just that they score 6 runs in the first; it's that those 6 runs that they score in the first are the only runs they score in the series. Because in the other games, they might score 1 run, then the next game 1 run again. So that's why I truly don't think it's sustainable at this point. I don't think they're going to be able to make the playoffs playing this way. Especially like you just mentioned, the starting pitching. Starting pitching in this series went 17 and 2/3. They allowed 5 runs, so they averaged 5 and 2/3 innings, and they allowed 3 runs. 5 and 2/3 with 3 runs is amazing. That's what you want out of your starting pitchers. And with the bullpen, for the most part, they completely shut down, except Ginkgo, which we'll get to in when we talk about Game 3. Um, they were completely dominant as well, but the offense just didn't show up. They scored 4.
I think Gabe froze for a second. Oh, Gabe out for a second. Well, while he's reconnecting, there's actually a great
4 runs in
point.
3 games.
Oh, there he is.
That's about 1 run.
There he is.
Am I back? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you're back. You good? So one of the because
Yeah.
in your point that you're making, you asked like when they punch and then the other team punches back, like what do you do then? There's actually a great tweet from I believe it was Jack Summers that Josh has queued up here. Like they don't do anything when they get punched back. Like when they're down by 2 runs or more, this team is 1-22. Now 1-23 after that loss on Sunday, but like I mean, again, last year they were 20-67, so it's not like last year they were much, I guess, better, which is funny because I guess we called them the answer backs. But I don't know. It's rough to see them just die. They're like we said it in the beginning of the year, kind of as a joke, but they're genuinely like there's no more answer backs. They're just genuinely the lay down and Diamondbacks.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying that 20-67. I believe that's 1/4 almost, or 25%. right now they're 1 for 23. That's like you're talking about decimal points. You're talking about like point
Yeah,
oh something. Like this is
that's
really bad. Um, but I just this is who they've been all year, and we've talked about it. It's like who is this team? This team has no identity other than the lay down in Diamondbacks because there's games where they look like they're the greatest team in the world, and then they have games where they score 0 runs, and I think Josh did the math here 0.04%.
oh, good lord. What is that,
So
my
it's
online
just
accounting grade in college? Good lord.
yeah, that's my KD ratio. But it's just with how bad they've been, it's frustrating to watch. And at least with the answer backs, what was exciting about them is throughout the whole game, you were like, damn it, just slamming, being a Kyle, punching walls, throwing stuff at the TV. And then the sixth, seventh inning came around, and you're like, all right, we're back now. This is who we are. I know who I am. And then it would end up being fun to watch. And then, you leave the game, you're excited. And this time, with how early they score, even though they win, it's really not as exciting because at that point, you're just frustrated because it's like, you know, bases loaded, no outs. Like, all right, it's the seventh inning. They haven't scored since the first. And then it's just pop up, strikeout. And then it feels like completely deflating the way that they've been playing. So even though they win, you're still kind of like not as satisfying to watch this team win anymore.
Yeah, say I'm curious. Like, obviously, like I don't have the time to do the deep diving on the math for last year, but with that like 20-67 whatever record, I'm curious how many of those games were obviously attributed to the bullpen blowing up.
Yeah.
How many of those where the team was down by a bunch ended up coming back, making the game at least close, at least like you said, at least being interesting. You had a reason to still watch. Like, yeah, they might go down by 5. They'll probably put up like 3 or 4 in one of those random innings, and yeah, they might still be down by a run, but they'll keep the game interesting. They'll keep the game for a reason for you to watch. Like, actually, you know, show some life. Where this year it's like, there's been a few of those cases this year. I'm not gonna say that all of those 23 losses have been just them genuinely just going down, laying down, and just going to sleep. But I feel like it's been a very good majority of them have been, once they go down by like 2 or 3 runs, whether they're like facing a dominant pitcher like Yamamoto, or they're facing like Lance Lynn in St. Louis, and they're putting up like 2 runs on him, 3 runs on him. Like,
Yeah.
it's I don't know. It's just sad to see them just genuinely just kind of just like not care. And that's, like you were saying before, might be a good reason. Like, I don't know if that's on Joe Mather. I don't know if that's on just like the team. I don't know what that's if they're all just mentally in their own head. Like, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think at this point we're looking for answers, that aren't there. We're asking questions for answers that, just don't exist at this point. And Tori's just gonna say the same thing, like, yeah, we're frustrated, but we're gonna, get back on the horse and blah blah blah. And it's like, at what point do we start making any sort of real moves? Like, do we bring in somebody else? Do we call up guys in Reno? I know we've talked about certain guys in Reno who are killing it right now. Like, because Gino, again, yeah, I mean, his average is down to like 220 or even a little bit below. Like, he's not helping at all. He's been playing good defense, but at this point, I'm like, Emmanuel Rivera is having a better season than him.
Yeah, you're not wrong at all.
So it's been very frustrating. But on to another frustrating game number 3, where they lost 3-1, where they didn't score until was the 9th inning. But bright spot, Blake Walson makes his major league debut. He goes 4 2/3. He allows 4 hits, 1 walk, 4 Ks on 65 pitches. He has
I don't
8
think it was his
whiffs.
debut, actually. I think
No,
it was.
was it?
I think that was a typo. Yeah, I think he pitched earlier. I think in May in like a spot start for like I think the Dodgers, against the Dodgers.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. All right, so 4 hard hit balls, which was great to see. So he had 65 pitches through 4 2/3. And Tori, he took him out. What do you think was going through Tori's mind as he took him out?
I mean, I think it's rough because it's not like in the case of when he took out Monty after 77, where he was pretty deep in the game, had some hard hit balls. It didn't really seem like Walson was actually getting hit too hard. Like I think it's just I think Torrey is a little bit too careful with some of his young guys. Like he wants to keep their confidence up, so he's going to take them out even if it's a little bit early. Where to me, I'm like, I mean, yeah, but like let them stay in the game, kind of build that confidence. No, oh hey, just because I get in a little bit of trouble, I'm not getting the ball taken away. Like I'm gonna get this guy out. And again, this is Blake's second start in MLB, so personally wasn't too surprised. I can, I guess, somewhat see Torrey's, I guess, thought process in it, if it being like that. Like, I believe being the third time around, or at least starting to get close to the third time around. So I can somewhat understand it, but I mean, it still does suck because it's like, dude, like at some point you can't just baby these dudes, the entire way. Like you can't gas the bullpen up every single time because the more innings for the bullpen, like there's only so many guys in the out back there that you, like we talked about, that are locked down, that we're really confident in seeing and knowing like, hey, like, this inning's going to go clean. If you're taking out your starter early, there's just more opportunity for some of those, bullpen pitchers that we'll get to in a minute, like Yinkle, with the way he's been pitching in the month of May, that there's more opportunity for those guys that are cold and in a rough stretch to, I guess, not get exposed, but to, get roughed up a little bit more and get used more. And then I don't know, I guess ruins their confidence a little bit more, especially if they're pitching when they're a little bit less tired because they're being used as much because he's taking out starters early. I mean, again, it's still kind of like 50-50. I'm not like too surprised, but I do wish that he would have let him at least try to finish the inning. Because again, if he gives up the run, he gives up the run. Like you got to at least understand, like, hey man, we're not taking you out like like right away. Like this is on the offense has got to score at some point. Who knows? Maybe if he leaves him in there, the offense finally gets that fire. Like, hey, you know what, Blake, we're gonna go get you this run back, so you're not gonna be on the hook for this loss. Like we got you. But I don't know. Torrey just doesn't really let his young guys get those opportunities, it feels.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where, like you're talking about, like maybe he got hit too much. He gave up a walk and a single. Then he got the ground out, and I believe he got a double play. It's not like it's not like he was laboring as much as I thought he was until I saw like the box score and the replay, and I was like, he was going fine. Like, why not just leave him out for the fifth? Because he was facing Josh Bell, which Josh Bell strikes out like crazy. Like this guy will swing at anything. So is my dog barking too loud? Just going a little crazy.
It's fine.
Okay.
They're just letting you like Josh says in the chat. It's your dog's letting you know that you have that dog in them as well, and they're just confirming that.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
I mean, yes, he had like 10 hard. He had 4 hard hit balls and 10 not hard hit balls. Like I know, like obviously, just not counting for everything, but that's pretty solid. Like he's not like throwing 95, 99 past dudes. Like he's sitting in the mid to low 90s, and he's not like a Tommy Henry. At least he has a little bit more gas, a little more like swing and miss on his stuff. Like, I mean, I don't know. I would have rather had him stay in the game personally.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of, if anything, he kind of looks like a Jordan Montgomery type. Like that's kind of who he is. And so at that point, I'm like, just let him finish the 5th inning. Like maybe don't bring him out for the 6th. Then like it's fine. Like whatever, keep him in line for the win. Because it would be nice to get him a major league win. And then just Torrey decides to beat Torrey. I mean, he brought in Justin Martinez. At least I'll give him credit for not bringing in one of the B, C, D guys to relieve him. And Justin Martinez got the job done. He got to fly out from Josh Bell. But yeah, so it's definitely strange, and I can understand Torrey's thought process, maybe protecting the guys just in case they don't want the game to get away from them. But overall, Blake pitched a really good game. I liked what I saw from him. Hopefully he can stay up for a little bit because as of right now, there's truly no real news on Merrill or Erod. I think the last thing we found out about Merrill was just that the imaging showed, that he was healing, but still it seems like we're a bit away from him coming back and from Erod coming back. So Blake, I mean, this is his shot in the show what he has. Maybe he can stay up there with the way Ryan Nelson has been struggling. So some Blake right now.
Yeah,
So
I'd be okay with it. Hey, like I said before, I love me a good lefty. I love
yes,
me a good lefty.
yeah. So we're gonna transition now to talk about one of the lowlights, Mr. Stinky Ginky. And usually when we say Stinky Ginky, we mean he is throwing the nastiest, uh, was it sinkers, sliders, freaking what, literally whatever the hell he's throwing out
His
there.
curveball, his slider that I swear to you
Yeah,
looks like a curveball. I don't know how it's classified
yeah.
as a slider.
So usually we mean that in a positive way, but he has not been good as of late, and it's been the last month. So he was pretty good throughout the early part of the season. But this month, he's just not been able to get the job done. He always keeps getting two strikes, and then they hit him or he walks him or whatever it is. Like he has not looked sharp. And this, I believe he got the loss in this game, although he technically didn't allow a run. Weirdly enough, he allowed 3 runs, but it wasn't earned because of an error by, I believe it was Kevin Newman, right? Shortstop.
Yeah, which I don't like. I don't remember the first. I believe the first batter that got to third on that. I don't know how that one's not earned. Like
Yeah.
unless there was another error in the inning. I don't know. Maybe they just classify that as if Newman gets that play, he gets out of the inning. None of those runs like count. I'm not totally sure. Yeah, it was a little bit weird that he didn't get any earned runs on that.
Yeah, and we have some stats right here. Is that he's allowed five, and he's allowed runs in 5 of his last 8 appearances in May. He has 7 innings and a third, 14 hits, 9 runs, 6 earned, 1 home run, 2 walks, 6 Ks, which is not what you want to see. He has less strikeouts than innings pitched, which is not what you want out of a guy who can, has nasty stuff. And he has an ERA of 7.36 this month, and his ERA from May 5th to as of today went from 2.57 to 4.43. So almost doubling his ERA at this point, and opponents are batting 400, 421, and 571 with the 991 OPS. They're putting up Barry Bonds numbers off of him at this point. Um, I don't know about his options, but do you keep him up and let him figure it out, or do you try to send him to Reno and figure out whatever it is that he's having issues with?
Yeah, I mean, I still think you keep him up here. It does suck because I know Tori wants to stick with him and have him be his, eighth inning guy. Like he's my dude. He's still he's still stinky ginky. He's still gonna go out there, but just with the track record that we're seeing from like him, like I personally don't see how you justify as a manager like have again. I know it's his role or whatever. You don't want to abandon it, but after nearly a month's sample size like this, seeing like an ERA jump like almost double while you have Justin Martinez, who's putting up like insane numbers in the same amount of time in the month of May. Like I believe we'll get to him, but Justin Martinez's numbers in May that Gabe will mention later, just disgusting when you compare them to like not even just Ginkel, but any pitcher in this Diamondbacks bullpen. To where I don't know how you don't kind of keep Kevin Ginkel in there. Like, oh, hey, we're down by like 2 or 3 in like the whatever the 6th inning. If like maybe go to like Kevin Ginkel instead of Justin Martinez yesterday. Like obviously I'm still glad he went to Justin Martinez. I'm never upset about them going to Justin Martinez. Please go to him more. But maybe that kind of role where Kevin Ginkel's being brought out first, like out of as like a really maybe they use him as an opener. Maybe they use him like in a kind of a different role. Just try to get his mojo back, get him back into the groove that we know he has. Because I'm sorry, there's just no reason I believe him to like still be in there with like in a hold or save opportunity in the 7th inning or 8th inning.
Yeah, and that's kind of
Why
what I
don't we
wanted to
take
bring up
Ginkel
about.
and move him to the other side of the mound? Maybe that's what it
Hey,
is.
might as well, yeah, just do it. Do anything that can figure it out. But yeah, like if he's going to be the 8th inning or 7th inning guy, or what is it? Brian Thompson and him are
Yeah,
interchangeable at
he's
this point,
he's
right?
the 8th inning. He was the
Yeah.
8th inning.
So with his struggles at this point, it's like, why not use J Mart? Like maybe let Ginkle go into the 5th or the 6th, maybe figure it out. If not, maybe send him down. Let J Mart cook in the 8th inning because, I mean, you're talking about Ryan Thompson, Justin Martinez, and Paul Sewald. That's your 7th, 8th, and 9th guys. Like they're three completely different pitchers. Both or all three of them has such nasty stuff that I feel like most games they will be able to win if they have the lead going into the 7th. If you put in Thompson, J Mart, and then Seawall, I think we're going to win a lot of games with those three guys. And so at this point, I'm starting to feel like with the struggles that Ginkle has had, he's kind of feeling like the odd man outs because he's supposed to kind of be the 8th inning guy. Because we got what's his name, Allen. We have a few guys in the bullpen. They're like Bryce Jarvis, where they're kind of like these middle relievers, guys that are going to come in to pick up a lot of messes and stuff. So where does that leave Ginkle?
It's a great
I don't
point.
know.
There's not really
I don't
many like
know.
clear like roles for him in the bullpen.
Yeah, his role is the 8th inning, and he's not getting the job done there. Then he's not really a guy you can just throw out there in the 6th. But we'll see. Maybe, hopefully, he's able to figure it out. And yeah, so we can talk about J Mart now. His ERA is down to 0.59. Opponents are batting 151, 297, and a 170 slugging, which again, just like Thompson, they can sometimes get a hit off of him, but it won't be a hard hit. It'll be a lot of singles. And a 467 OPS. He hasn't allowed a run since April 30th. We are close to about a month without him allowing a run, which obviously means that starting tomorrow, he's probably going to allow one. But in May, he has 9 innings pitched, 7 hits, 5 walks, 14 strikeouts. He has been so freaking nasty. Man, he has such a swagger on the mound. I love seeing him pitch. Every time he comes out there, it's must-see TV. And I think this begs the question, like we were talking about Ginkgo, like what's his role? Like where do you think he belongs?
I mean, I'm personally biased when it comes to him because, as you have seen before with my Justin Martinez collection, I've been a J Mart believer basically since I found out about him in the system like 2-3 years ago. But he just has genuine, like, he has the entire makeup of a reliever, like great pitch mix, like he throws hard enough, to trick guys, but he's not like, especially we've seen what's really impressive this year is, last year when he came up, it was, he's throwing the 105, the 1 or the 103, 103, 103, but it was like hardly ever in the zone. Whereas this year we've seen like he's keeping the ball in the zone, like a 63% strike percentage on all of his pitches, which last year I think it was just barely above 50%. So you'd still like to see it up more in general, but he's been very efficient. He's been dialing it back a little bit by still, touching 101 and whatnot, but he's focused more on, hey, I got the stuff that if I can keep it in or by the zone, I can get guys out. And he's our future closer. Like in my opinion, there's no way around it. Like we've talked about it before, how the D-backs have never really been able to develop an ace starting pitcher, and Brandon Pfaadt might be the first one. We've never been able to develop like an 8 or like an elite bullpen, like a closer. Like they've never had the guys that are throwing, like even in the hundreds, and even when they did, they like with Luis Frias, like they're not that good. Where Justin Martinez is elite. That splitter and sinker combo is disgusting. Like we saw what he did to Mookie Betts. Like that was, and that's not like, this isn't a scrub. This isn't like, a dude that's struggling. Mookie Betts is he's putting up MVP numbers. Like there's a good chance, especially now with like Acuna out. If Ohtani wasn't on his team, I think it would be a borderline lock. Like there's no reason. Like he's insane. So the stuff that he has in his repertoire and just what he's been doing, there's no doubt in my mind that he is going to be the closer of this team, if not next year, because I know Paul Sewald's a free agent this year, at least in a few years. And it just makes me excited for what kind of cool-ass hype closer walkout song he's going to have.
Yeah, what's interesting about him is that with how hard he throws, it's not like he's getting hard fly ball outs or hard grounders either, which is usually what you expect out of guys who throw this hard. He's getting a lot of soft contact. He's getting a lot of soft little grounders, little bloops straight back to him. So it shows that he's been able to get outs he's relying on the defense, obviously, but he's not relying on them to do crazy plays. He's striking them out and just getting soft little plays with the for his defense. But anyways, that was the Marlins series. There's no real good way to transition out of this because with
Yeah,
how bad, with how bad this was, like there's just not much to say. I mean,
that
we
was the
spent an
series we
hour
needed
talking
to
about it,
win.
but this definitely was a series we needed to win, especially with the Dodgers getting swept. If the D-backs would have been able to either sweep or win the series, they would be about 5 games behind the Dodgers, and would have positioned them pretty well in the NL West. But unfortunately, couldn't get the job done. But we just want to preview real quick the Rangers series, which starts tomorrow. We have Brandon Pfaadt and Ryan Nelson on Wednesday going up against, I believe the player's name is to be announced, who he has a 0.00 ERA. So we have a completely dominant pitcher both games. And that's kind of it. Like there's no real series preview other than just it's not like the Rangers are doing as good. Like the D-backs and the Rangers at this point are basically the same team. Um, they both are having issues with the offense. They have good pitching, but just the struggles on offense and everything's contributed to them not being able to really get ahead the way they were expecting to.
Yes, I mean, I'm still gonna have Vietnam War flashbacks
Yeah.
whenever I turn the game on and I see them playing in the Rangers ballpark. I'm just gonna be thinking about Game 1 of the World Series all over again. But yeah, I mean, I just hope that I just hope that he can, or the team can just somehow get hot. Like it sucks because the Marlins are not like the best. They're not even really a good team, and we couldn't take advantage. So it's always, I feel like every season or every series that we go in against a team that's just either on a slump or under 500, we're just constantly saying, "Oh yeah, hopefully they can actually like take this series and use this as a jumping pad," and they never do. Like I'm gonna sound like a broken record. I hope they do it this time, man. I hope they do it. With our luck, the Rangers are probably going to randomly start two lefties. So not only does Corbin face two lefties, but Jock won't even get to start. Who's like one of our hottest hitters. But I don't know. I'm just trying to be less pessimistic and be more, glass half full kind of guy. Because this season has been pretty rough, and I would like to see it turn around soon.
Yeah. All right. So I believe we have triple play trivia, right?
Is
Tory
this to
extension?
end the show, or did we want to talk about Tory?
Wait, Tory? Wait, what do you mean?
What did you say about
news,
this?
or like?
Did you sent me something about in Discord?
Oh yeah, sorry. In the dispatch Discord, it was basically just a it was a screenshot of Justin Martinez's Savant page. I was just before we went, I wanted to put that up there as like hey, you know what? The series wasn't good, but at least here's some good to look at.
I gotcha. Well, I've got something fun to end with here with triple play trivia. So let's get started with that. So, breaking news, I actually just was told by some inside sources that we've actually found out who is going to be the Diamondbacks 2050 MVP when they win the World Series. Do you guys know who that is?
Is it Elliot?
It is. Yay!
Yeah.
Year old. So I just wanted to, celebrate him and everything, and show him off. So that's our future MVP right there. So keep tabs on him in about, what would it be, like, what, 25? No, like 20 years. So yeah, I just want to
Adorable.
celebrate. It was his birthday. So
Hell yeah. Happy birthday, or happy late birthday, Elliot.
Yeah. All right. So I believe that's it for today. I want to thank everybody for joining us on here, on Twitter, because I refuse to say X. So if this is your first time listening on Spotify or on YouTube, click like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any other shows.
Also,
and then
comment on YouTube and stuff. It really helps.
Comment on YouTube. Yes. So we'll see you guys later. Bye.